All right. Good morning, good afternoon. I guess good afternoon if you're on the East Coast here. Good morning everywhere else in the U.S. Excited to be on this call today here. We've got Todd and Jamie from Auto Elevate on the call today. And I'm really interested of being an MSP in the past myself and talking with Todd about the solution here and what they've got going on. I know, Todd, you've been in the MSP industry forever. It seems like here, so definitely an expert in this. But looking at for a cybersecurity solution, channel only, which is key for so many in this industry, is that being channel only, not being sold against, not anything that someone can go out and buy direct, but also a big return on investment, big ROI driver here. I love on the registration page of seeing this, that with the solution that you've got, it reduces service requests by upwards of 65% and drastically cuts response time. And I'm sure you're going to talk about a lot of that with the solution. But you've got a ton of things that I know you want to get to. So I'm just going to pass it over to you, Todd.
Thanks. Thanks, Jeff. Yeah. So, hey, Todd. Hi,
hey,
everyone. Happy Friday, everyone. So just to reiterate, everyone here, what brought everyone here is those like 3 bullet points: creating less work for the technicians, improving security, improving security, and delivering big ROI for MSPs. So that's what brought you here. Todd, co-founder of Auto Elevate, and we have a lot of things to go over. And stay tuned because there's going to be a great special that we're offering for you folks. So,
all right, that's a lot of buildup. Hopefully, I'm gonna talk about a lot of 3 things, Jamie. I got
3 things.
Today. Yeah, 3 things. I got in the mode of talking about just groups of 3 things. So, less work, better security, and return on investment. But before we get to that, I'm talking about another 3 things kind of been, as we've seen in discussions. Well, we are a privilege access management solution. For those that aren't familiar, mean that we allow you to dial in privilege for security purposes, because Windows obviously allows kind of all or nothing. Either you're an admin, you can do anything and everything, including misconfigure the system, install malware, do things that are boneheaded, you name it, or they have standard privileges and they inevitably run into lots of different things that they need to do, would like to do, and that you probably would like them to do as well, so they don't produce tickets. So with that though, we know that in talking with various partners, there are a few misconceptions out there about our product. So we're going to talk about 3 of those. I'll mention 3 of them real briefly. We'll kind of weave in along of showing you 3 different things we currently do. I told you I'm going to be all about 3 things today, Jamie. 3 things we currently do that have a lot of value, we believe, and 3 things that are coming that are going to be new. So it's like 12 things, but they're going to be in groups of 3. So you'll be looking forward to that.
Okay. Totally digestible then.
All right. So 3 misconceptions. First of all, there is somewhat of a misconception out there that we're a tool that allows you just to give admin privileges for a period of time, so that your users are going to be contacting you all the time saying, hey, I want admin privileges, and then you're going to hit a button or something and that we give admin privileges out to them, that they can do anything and everything. That is absolutely not the way it works, not what we do. I'll walk you through what that looks like real briefly, and how it does work. We do have a great mobile app. I think that's where some of that misconception comes into play. So another misconception is that with our solution, you're going to be using our app just to respond to users' requests all day long. And that also is not accurate or true. Really, our system, our platform, ideally, you want to build rules, and the idea is to build rules to automate privileges so that users automatically have the right amount of privileges to do the things they should be able to do and not be able to do the things they shouldn't. Yes, we have a mobile app in a real-time privilege request system, which we obviously spend some time on in our various demos, because that process has to be great. The user experience has to be great. But the misconception is that then it's our solution is just something where you're responding to requests all day long. That's also not accurate or true. The last thing is that, you know, that you can really just allow users to have admin privileges, and that you're just as secure having them with admin privileges as long as you have a few other things in place as you are without. And we would say, and I think there's plenty of references, which I'll give you a few things to look at, that also we'd say isn't true. You need to start with reducing privilege, and we're going to talk about that as we get into security. So let's jump in and just look at what we have today. We're getting into the three things that we do that I think have value, that you'll be interested in, and how we deal with privilege for your clients, what our system does. So as mentioned, we give you the ability to not just have all or nothing. Now, the reality is even though the goal is to automate things, your users, out of 100 things that potentially come up that might require privilege, if you automate 99 of them, that's you want to automate as many as possible, 100% if possible. But the reality is you'll never automate everything, because they'll always come up with different things that there's no way that any human can foretell the future and think of things that they're going to want to do. So the real-time process has to be good. Your users probably aren't going to call you up and say, hey, Jamie, Jeff, out of the last 100 things that I encountered that required privilege, 99 of them were automated and went right through. Thank you so much. I don't think your customers, my managed service clients aren't that way, but they're going to call up and complain about that one time that it wasn't automated and that they had to wait, So that, let me share my screen real quick. I'm going to show you just real briefly what the user experience is like for when you have rules made, and we'll show you a little bit about the rules. We have a new some changes to the rules engine that recently took place, and then also how the real-time request works real briefly. So let me share my screen. Okay, so hopefully what you're seeing here and looking at is a virtual machine here running Windows 10. This will be kind of our client machine. We got an admin portal. We'll show you how it interacts with the mobile applications. So let me clear this. All right, and show you how it works with the mobile application, because again, that is something that brings a lot of value, especially when you're a smaller shop with 5 or 10 technicians and you're covering nights and weekends or whatever. So our agent that sits on the machine, which of course we have deployment scripts for all the major RMM tools that will deploy it silently in audit mode. And what our agent does when you turn it to, we're gathering all the UAC events on a system, which are great for security, to audit those events to see what your users are requesting and needing privilege for. But when you have rules, which again is the goal, you have rules for automation in place, the experience for the end user is that when they click on something that you have a rule that applies to, our agent sees the UAC, looks to see what caused it, calculates a hash, looks at the certificate, sees that there's a rule in place to allow that, and then injects into the UAC and elevates it. Okay, so the user experience, if you're able to see that, were you able to see that, Jamie?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, it's always hard to tell with
I know,
with
it goes by
Zoom.
quick. Yeah.
Okay, so I'll do it one more time just in case anyone is looking away there. But
Done.
that's the process that happens for the end user when you have rules in place, and that's obviously the goal. That's what you want to happen for your users. You want to have rules in place that so things that you're anticipating that you want them to be able to do, they can do. Now, again, that one time out of 100, that's where the user experience has to be really good. And you have to have a solid process in place, because it's that one time out of 100 where you don't have something automated that then turns into the conversation on, hey, we can't work this way. We got to be productive. We have to have admin privileges. You're killing our productivity. You know, we knew.
Yeah, that
so-
CEO that wants that, cycling app, and he wants to have it, and how dare he can't have it, download it right now, etc.
Right.
We hear it all day, every day. Yeah.
Exactly. All right. So what happens when your users click on something that requires privilege that you have not built a rule for, is they're going to get presented with a brandable dialog box here. If they hit no, it's already a captured UAC event on the system. So when you deploy this out in scale, you're going to see lots of things that your users have done. A lot of times if they're doing something fishy or something they know they shouldn't do, when they see this and they see your name in the box here, they're going to hit
And
no.
all of that is customizable, right?
Yep.
So-
So when they hit yes to this, like most users will do, they'll hit yes to everything. What happens is they get a timer box dialog. This is brandable. You can make it say and look the way you want. The timer is adjustable. Your technicians are going to be notified. So they're going to be able to see who it is, what it is, disposition of the machine in that moment in time, and of the application. Now, in this, if there's different things like system restore is disabled or something like that, you're going to have red X's, going to change the color of the banners. If it doesn't have a valid certificate, it's integrated with Virus Total, so it gives you the information from that. From there, you can approve or deny, and you can approve or deny not only for this one time for this one user, but you can make a rule for all users that come after that, either approve or deny using a hierarchy. Of course, this solution is born in the MSP community, so it's full in multi-tenant, all that. Now, just to address really quickly what happens when the timer runs out, because I know everyone's always concerned with that, is it gives them a customizable message. This one I haven't customized as the default. Gives them a ticket number, lets them know that you're going to get back with them. Now, this is a full-blown integration, as you know, Jamie, that is smart. So if they try and do this multiple times, it's not going to keep pinging your technicians with Windows notifications or on their mobile apps or opening new tickets in Autotasker, ConnectWise or Synchro or Kaseya, whatever. It's going to let them know there's a duplicate request, give them a ticket number, tell them to be patient or whatever you want to tell them. You can be as stern or sassy as you'd like to be, Jamie. Put the logo in there, whatever. But it's going to log that all in the ticket. So you're going to have a full documentation of everything that's happening here. But that's the extent for the user until you reply back. Now,
And the timer can be set to any time that you want, right?
Absolutely, including you can turn it to 0, in which case it just, instead of going to a timer, goes to an alternate dialogue. So
perfect.
The point here is, you can customize this experience for your users. Again, because we want that one time out of 100 that you don't have things automated. We want that experience to be really good.
And the marketing messaging is really important. As Rob and Robin's folks know, that you're putting that branding in front of them. They're seeing how hard you're working for them.
Right. And this is an opportunity where in your response, you can wow them, because no doubt, when you go in on sales calls with new prospects or whatever, it's a question you can ask, are you currently locked down to standard privileges, or do you have admin privileges? And no matter what they say to that, you have an opportunity to wow them with your process, because if they've have standard privileges, then you can ask them, what has the process been like? Has that been good, or is that inconvenient, whatever? Of course, later you can demonstrate how your system works, or you can talk about that in your sales process.
You can really use this as a springboard.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
So, so in here, you obviously have the ability to approve or deny. Everything is color coded here, so your text can make a decision based on what they're seeing. And of course, there's a lot more to this. We're not going to get into all the details of it. So it doesn't really matter. And of course, I guess should be said, On the mobile app, if your techs have the mobile app, all the same things are available here for the mobile app. This is not a adaptive reactive website stuffed into here. This is a 64-bit app that we've developed that makes it really nice if you're covering nights or weekends, crawl under a desk, trying to have a date, go to a movie, whatever. You know, it gives you the ability to take care of things without having to whip out a laptop, connect up to Wi-Fi, do all that.
Mhm.
So in this case, we'll go ahead and just approve this, and we'll make a rule for all companies. So that's pretty much how hard it is to do it. When you do that, if you did have another technician that had this open at the same time, let me get this, hide the floating meeting control so I can see this. If someone else tried to do something, it would refresh this if you had someone that was open at the same time, and it would say what was done, and it would refresh it with what was done and the date and time. And by the way, on the ticketing, we don't have a lot of time to get into the specific ticketing system integrations, but all that's logged in the ticket. We changed status type, subtype. We added default amount of time for the technician that did the action. We put a note in the ticket. We put the configuration, the hardware asset in the ticket. We can move it into queues or service boards, various things we can do that will completely automate. It's basically the easiest ticket you can do. So from that standpoint, it also kicks back the communication to the end user. So the end user gets this message back saying that the request that they asked for earlier, Adobe Shockwave 12.2 with your ticket number, they can do it now or do it later. If they do it later, it just is like the Java did. Next time they click on it, it works. If they click OK, then it relaunches it and elevates it. And by the way, it also logs that in the ticket. When they get those dialogues, it marks in the ticket after the ticket has been completed, even goes back, updates the ticket to let them know that the user got that message, the source files were there, and that they launched it. So you have a full circle view in the ticketing system, everything that happened, and it's all, as you saw, kind of the click of a button. The beauty of that is that, you know, in this case, you also were to make a rule for all your clients, or for a particular company the machine's part of, or the group of machines, or the single machine. You can make a rule in that same click, which we did, so that the other users at that, your other clients that got that same update or needed that same thing,
It's taken care of.
it's taken care of.
Yep.
So in motion, when you don't have me, you know, verbosely talking all about it, you know, when the users are doing this process, it's a pretty nice experience for them because they get that branded experience in front of them. It's easy for your technicians. They get the alert. They get the alert on the mobile phone. They have a ticket open. It's like the easiest ticket they can do because they can see who it is, what it is, disposition of the machine, and whether this is a known thing in the universe. 70 different providers know about this, saying it's not malicious, valid certificate, all the details about it. And you can not only answer this one user, but everybody, so that it doesn't make tickets onto your board, and you can still maintain that posture from a security standpoint of having standard privileges. And it has a wow factor for clients, so they can see that you're working in their behalf and you have an awesome response. So great.
And we hear time and time again, like, the people love it. They don't have to call. They don't have to put a ticket in. They don't have to. They just continue on with their work.
Right. Okay. So that is kind of the first thing. And with that, it's worth noting. Let's just take a quick look at the rule that we just
Jeff's
made.
back.
Oh, Jeff.
I saw there's some questions on here, and can continue with what you're doing, Todd, but I think we should probably hit these questions here before you move on to the next item, after you show what you're showing right now.
Sure. Okay. So what I was going to show you is the rule that we just made. We made two rules, actually, one for Handbrake, one for Adobe. When rules are made in real time, they're referencing the hash. That's how we identify them. However, we're also gathering information on the certificate and the file attributes of it. So in this case, like the rule that we made here for Adobe Shockwave, you can have one of your senior techs go back through these rules that have been made. They'll be able to see those, and then they can also change those to be a little wide, widen the umbrella. In this example, this would only be available if there's a valid verified certificate, which in this case it has that. But we can make a rule on the certificate, either for this specific hashed thumbprinted certificate, or for certain elements within the ticket. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to change this rule to, instead of be just for the hash, we're going to make it for Adobe Systems Incorporated, meaning that if it has a verified publisher certificate from Adobe Systems Incorporated, we're going to allow it. And then we're going to also say, you know, maybe you would want it just to say anything that has Adobe in the product name and has a valid Adobe Systems Incorporated certificate. Of course, you can modify the other things here, change where the rule is located for the company or move it around. You can also copy and move rules around from one company to another, or from a machine to global, or any of the different levels. So you can work with these rules real easily. But in this case, we're going to change this rule to be just a rule for Shockwave to a rule for all Adobe products. So that if an Adobe product is calling for privilege, like an updater or something like that, now it's set for that. So in this case, obviously our original thing of Adobe Shockwave still elevates as anticipated, but now also Adobe Air will also work, because Adobe Air uses a certificate from Adobe Systems Incorporated. So that's really how easy, and you notice that that takes effect right away.
Mm-hmm.
So it can allow you to do some things, both with the way you are responding in real time, but also when you adjust and make rules, they're going to take effect immediately. So you can turn on a dime. If you have like different things that you've run into in the past, where like this particular patch or thing needs to be updated immediately, instead of spending a day or two trying to script it out, test it, and figure it all out, you can just launch it on a test machine, make a rule, and send everyone a link.
Excellent.
All right.
Such a great tool. Such a great tool in the toolbox there. So Todd has a question. So the solution say, so does the solution save a set of credentials, or does it integrate with any existing systems like IT Glue and pulls the credentials from there?
Neither. All right. So the credentials that are used, we have two different types of elevation, what we would call an over-the-shoulder admin account at elevation, or we can elevate it with the context of the logged in user. You probably saw the little toggle, maybe when I did the approval, there's a little toggle there that said admin or user, and that's what that's for, is you can set that in real time. And of course that can be set against the rules, and we'll pick that setting up. Now, this is where a little magic, Jeff, is happening.
Jeff's like, okay.
Jeff's like, so the credential that actually is being used when you install Auto Elevate on a machine, we're actually making a standard user account with a crazy little name. It's a hidden account on the machine. It's a standard user account, not an admin account. It starts with a tilde symbol, tilde 000 AE admin. We're utilizing that account as a shell account to do the elevations. And what we're doing is we're utilizing that account, bumping the privileges up and down, but we're randomizing new credentials for that, new 127 character credentials before and after every use. Now, the result of that, by the merit of the fact how that's happening at the local machine, means that everything that's elevated, each individual thing that's elevated, is done with a unique credential. It's only good for that one thing, that one moment in time. It's not stored anywhere, transmitted anywhere. At rest, it's a standard account, and it requires our system and or second factor to use. So really a nice, and it's of course randomized before and after every use. So it's not a credential that you have stored somewhere in a server somewhere that then you have to worry about, hey, how secure is the server where all these credentials are sitting. It's randomized every single time before and after every single use. And at rest, it's a standard account. So awesome way to do elevation.
And that really is a good way where we hear a lot where it has to have admin credentials to work or it'll break, that this is
The
this
user
is where you would
context,
use,
right.
yep, you would use the user. So
Which, by the way, kind of comes to the second thing. On any of the machines that have our agent on there, if you do a Control-Alt-A, A for auto elevate, Jeff, not Control-Alt-Delete, and then you take our mobile, it brings up a little QR code. And from our mobile app, there's this little QR code button. So if you take that and scan that, because we're already logged in here and second factored into the app, okay? And second factor is required, it's not optional. So you have to be logged in and second factored. But when you do that, then we're kind of by extension also second factoring this machine into technician mode. What technician mode does, it has the ability, and this is our second thing of value here. We're on number 2 of 3.
moving along.
Moving along, Jeff. Is that in technician mode, everything here is still run with standard privileges. However, if you're working on this machine as a technician, even if you have a rule for something, it's going to, instead of applying rules automatically, it will allow those UACs to come up so you can interact with them as a technician. It's going to give you here, we're not modifying the UAC, we're following it around. It's going to give you information from our admin portal, but more importantly, allows your technicians to do the elevation with the click of a button, using that same process of randomized passwords, not being stored, with the context, with either an over-the-shoulder style elevation or with the context of the user. So in other words, if you need to install this or elevate this as the user that's logged in, you can do that with the click of a button without even being privy to what those credentials are. So it allows your technicians to work on machines as technicians with privilege, but without having to know what the password scheme is on all those machines, and without having to look it up in another system. They simply can scan it, Control-A, scan it, and they can do work. And of course, everything they do individually, each thing they do is tracked and audited or logged on the system. So you can see exactly what your technicians have done. You can see exactly what your technicians have done on what machines very easily. So here in the events, as you can see, if you want to know everything that Todd Testing has been doing, and you want to see what computers those have been on and what things I've been up to, you can see that very easily. This is information that if you had to look through the Windows event logs to gather, would be really either impossible or really, really tricky and time consuming to do. Really easy to do with our product because we're tracking every use of privilege.
Mm-hmm. And this is really good. We had a person come to us and wanted to bring on a new tech, and just, having them work in the app, you hope that they work out, you hope everything is great and they're as great as you want them to be. But if it doesn't work, it's a great way to put your techs on and a secure way to work for them as well. Yeah,
because if one of them leaves, you can just turn off, take it off their auto elevated account, and they never knew what those passwords were to begin with. Does that cover all those questions, Jeff? Anything else?
Yeah, so Jeff has a good question. Is there a way to pre-approve known good apps, or do you have to approve each one manually the first time to run Chrome, Office, etc.?
So when you start with our system, you're starting with a blank canvas. You have to, we don't have a form that you can say, I want to add a rule and then fill out all the different criteria that we would need to be able to accomplish that, where you would have to do that. The easiest and best way to do it is deploy our agents in what we call audit mode and allow your users to do what they normally do. We'll gather all the events from things that normally would require privilege, and then you can build the rules based off of that. And you can make the rules based off of, publisher certificate, file criteria, combinations, or things, so you can kind of dial in your comfort level with how you want those rules to be.
Perfect. I want to
'Cause-
get to other things too. So there's a couple other questions. Is the same process on servers? So. works on
So, you know,
servers?
servers are a slightly different use case because typically for a server, now I will say RDS servers are a little, RDS or terminal servers are a little different. And for that use case of RDS or terminal server, our agent does work. Our agent is designed, the same agent works for Windows 7, 8.1, 10, as well as 2008 R2, 2012 R2, 16, and 19. It does work with RDS and terminal servers because it's fully session aware. So for a terminal server, it works, it's the same thing, okay? The same process for the users applies to terminal servers and works the same way. For other servers, though, like file servers, domain controllers, things of that nature, it's a different use case because the users that are logging into those servers should already have admin privileges, in which case you can have our agent on there and we can gather all the UAC events or gather all the things that they've done that required privilege and who they were from an auditing perspective. So it's more of an auditing function for servers than it is for really the approval of process or of privileges like it would be for a workstation.
Perfect. Great question, Matt. Yeah, thanks for seeing. It's good to see you on here too, Matt.
Which, by the way, I'm already on the third point. You didn't even realize it. The third thing of value. Yeah,
Okay.
we've been moving along even with the questions. The third thing of value was really the ability to automate, remediate use of privilege, as well as the part I didn't mention is you can control UAC, audit and remediate computers that are misconfigured with UAC. You can set that very easy from our system, as well as you can remove admin privileges from our system. So here you can turn the UAC on, set the UAC level. We can handle that for you. It's really easy to see. You can sort out and group from our grids here if there's any that have it off. And you can, of course, sort that out by company or, various criteria in your filtering and grouping. But you can also see if there's any users that are running with admin privileges. And, once you've made some rules and have some automation things in place, again, you pull them over into live mode or policy mode on our agent, and you can set a setting here to remove admin privileges set to on. And what that'll do is after you've set some exceptions of ones you don't want to have admin privileges removed from, it will, on a persistent basis, examine, as it always is, if the user that's logged in has admin privileges or not. If they shouldn't, it'll bump them from the low admin user group to the standard user group. And that includes with Azure AD, because as you know, as you add users to Azure AD, those don't exactly show up on the local machine in such an obvious way. They get admin privileges, but you don't see them in the groups. So with Azure AD users, it will automatically remediate that for you, move them right from the local admin group to make them local standard users. So it makes it really, really easy. All right. Any other questions before we?
Yeah, I think we have, but we have a lot to cover. So yeah, I think we should probably, we'll get to those, but for sure.
Okay.
But I think we need to keep
All right,
moving,
well,
friend.
All right. So 3 things that are coming.
This is good.
This is the part that Jamie is wanting to get to. The 3 things that are coming.
Totally. Yeah.
So a lot of security, and various security tools are all based off of publisher certificates. Now, I asked the question, when's the last time anyone has checked the integrity of their certificate store on their local Windows machine? How would you do that? Great questions. Those are questions we started to ask when we were in the process of making the changes to our tool to also look at publisher certificates, because we started like, where's the Achilles heels here on the chain of trust?
You put your tinfoil hat on.
We put the tinfoil hats on. We got paranoid. And And so the thing we realize is that Microsoft updates the certificates that should be there. They update the list of certificates in the certificate store of what should be there for publisher trusted certificates from the certificate authority. However, what they don't do is they don't look for things that are there that shouldn't be. And we discovered in researching this, and again with the tinfoil hats on, that it is extremely easy to manipulate the certificate store on a Windows machine and add certificates in there that then would help circumvent all other security tools. Now, we have some things coming up. If you're part of like MSP Geeks or some of the things, we're doing some webinars that gets into the nitty gritty technical stuff on this, but it's shockingly, it's frightening. my CTO, David, our other co-founder, when we were getting into this, he was able to easily demonstrate that this is a major issue, and that this is something that malicious actors are exploiting, not as a silver bullet to exploit the machines, but as an ingredient in the recipe of exploiting machines, because it's something that can be done if you have machines that have admin privileges. It is extremely easy to manipulate the Windows certificate store if they have admin privileges, which is also why I'll go back to number 3 of my first set of 3 misconceptions, and that, hey, if you can have admin privileges or user run admin privileges on a machine and you're going to be safe as long as you have other security tools in place. This is a major reason why that really is not true. This is a tactic that is being used to circumvent other security tools, is manipulate the certificate store. So what's coming? That's what all Jamie wants to know and cares about. What's coming? A tool that will easily allow you just to see the status of your certificate stores across all your machines and remediate any issues that are there. So that you can be assured that that is all good to go. So that's coming. Second thing that's coming is we're going to continue to polish you'll see some things in the tools and things that are presented to your technicians that will give them additional information on whether the certificate store is safe on the machine, whether the machine is safe, and whether what they're approving is safe. So there's some additional things in there, as well as some polish to the customizable messaging going back to the user, as well as the ability to do a pick list of deny messages and an appeals process, all to polish the communication and the decision making that happens in real time. I know Jamie doesn't care too much about number 2 because she's waiting for number 3. The third big thing, this is the big one that is in development and coming, is WDAC, or Windows Defender Application Control. Now, that's obviously a Microsoft product and thing. It is Microsoft's what used to be called Code Integrity. It's a cornerstone really now for what Microsoft strategy for the endpoint security. It's part of their zero trust security strategy. And the cool thing about their application whitelisting is it takes into account components in Windows that should be there, components in Office 365 that should be there. It also takes into account the trust from their system called the Intelligent Security Graph. Intelligent Security Graph is Microsoft's system that they're gathering data points over 6.5 trillion data points a day that they then are using to connect the dots to identify threats. So they're gathering that from Azure, they're gathering that from OneDrive, from Outlook, from intelligence agencies from around the world, and they're connecting all the dots to identify things that are threats, over 6.5 trillion data points a day. Now, their application whitelisting is using that intelligent security graph to also help you identify things that should be trusted without you having a team of engineers constantly go and make that decision. It's based off hard data and a huge security investment from Microsoft and a team at Microsoft who's doing that for you. Now, what we're doing with WDAC, or Windows Defender Application Control, is we're making it so that you can easily turn it on, easily configure it, and in a multi-tenant environment, okay? And extend it out to the process, the real-time approval process that we already have in place, and but with use of your integrated ticketing system, okay? As a managed service provider, not as a 10 or 15,000 seat enterprise, okay? So we're making it real easy where you can turn that on and off and leverage all the enterprise horsepower that Microsoft has put in. The cool thing about WDAC, their application whitelisting product, it's built into Windows 10 at a kernel level. So you don't have to worry about when a Windows update happens, whether those Windows components are going to then be broken. It's already built in to their application whitelisting and puts a zero trust model in place. We're going to make it so you can easily turn it on and off and configure it, leverage the rules that you've already made with Auto Elevate, as well as Microsoft's intelligent security graph, and leverage it in a multi-tenant environment with our real-time process, and also your ticketing system fully integrated. So it's going to be exciting. Now, you may be wondering, how much is that going to cost? Sounds expensive. Great thing is, partners that already have our system, it doesn't cost anything. So you're going to add the ability to turn on the toggle switch and turn on that extra layer of protection and security, and it won't cost you anything as long as it's on a Windows 10 machine.
That's what I've been waiting to hear. Excellent.
So
wonderful things coming.
Now I should preface that, Jamie, by saying that partners that are on our tiered incremental subscription, it doesn't cost anything extra. We're not going to, when this new feature set, the three things I mentioned are in development, and you'll start seeing those come out in beta and be available to our partners that are on tiered incremental subscriptions. For partners that are on our tiered incremental subscriptions, tiered incremental meaning we only charge for agents that are actively deployed. It's a month-to-month subscription, but ones that are on our tiered incremental subscription will not have an increase in price when we release those features. That'll be included with what they're already paying for already there. However, once we release those features and they're out there, if you're new coming in the door, that there will be a different price for this feature set coming in the door as a new subscriber. So
good to know. Good to know.
Sign up now before it's too late, Jeff. All right. So any questions before I get to the next little pieces?
Yeah, I think that there's a question from earlier. If a binary is elevated, say QuickBooks, how do you prevent it from opening up other binary that itself will not be elevated? Does that make sense to you?
It does. So the question is, and that's a dual-edged sword, right? I mean, if you elevate QuickBooks to run an update, that QuickBooks update can launch off other things. Absolutely. But I would ask you to step back from that question for a moment, or you might be also, part of that question may be, well, if you elevate an application to run a line of business application to run where that line of business application allows the user to go into the file menu and then go to and launch something from there. The answer is yes. If that application is run with admin privileges, that is entirely possible. But I would ask you to step back from that and say, what's your alternative? If you're using that as an excuse to not reduce admin privileges, I mean, that's sort of like saying, well, because there might be this one-off situation where there might be a vulnerability because of this situation that's a one-off thing, I'm not going to reduce admin privileges and just let, I mean,
Yeah,
it makes no
that's-
sense. We do have partners that have made that argument, however. I don't know if that's the question or not, but I would say this is that reducing privilege combined with application whitelisting, which is what's coming, is a powerful 1-2 combination. And with application whitelisting, yes, you can limit specifically what can run. With privilege, though, already with privilege, and you have to start with privilege.
Yeah.
We're often asked, are we a security tool or convenience tool? And the answer is yes. We do map to, I would ask you to look at, if you're working on CIS controls, NIST controls, SANS management, cyber program access or process controls, UK cyber essentials, Australian essential 8. We have a document from the NSA that talks about, you know, the 10, you know, essential things to do and ranked in order of effectiveness. All of those things talk about, and the ones that are ordered like CIS and the CIS list and controls and the NSA list talk about removing privileges first. So although there are many different things you're going to want to do and many different, you know, things to a layered security approach, privileges are something that are essential, required, and if you're going to be compliant with just about anything, needs to be done. And it needs to be done early on. If you look in the CIS controls, it's number 4. In the NSA's list, it's number 3.
Yep.
I mean, it needs to be done early on, because if you allow admin privileges, you're also making the rest of your security tools vulnerable.
And we have a lot of that. We have that list if anybody wants to reach out to me as far as marketing material, and we can provide that as well. But so if that
we map
answers.
to, and sometimes we get asked what NIST controls we map to. There's a whole range. A lot of the ones that are 3.1 point whatever, we map to those controls, the 3.3 controls, some of the 3.4 controls, 3.5, 7, and 9 controls. We map all in the NIST stack. We map to number 4 in CIS, which is again going in order. So if you need any of that information, and of course, if you look in the UK's top 10 list, NSA's top 10 list, a lot of them is reducing privilege is in all those. By the way, I want to show this to you as well. Got me fired up, Jamie.
Okay, good.
Let me share my screen. I thought this was interesting. Let's see if I have it here. Australia, the Australian Essential 8 is an interesting one. And again, you know, everybody agrees you need to reduce privilege. So, you know, but the Australian list is interesting when it talks about restricting privileges, part of their Essential 8. They also talk about what approaches do not restrict admin privileges, which ones are not an effective approach. And if you notice here what this says, I don't know if you can see it, simply minimizing the total number of privileges accounts is not a valid approach. Implementing shared non-attributable privilege accounts is not a valid approach. Temporary allocating administrative privileges to user accounts is not an approach. So, you know, it really, again, when you're either approving and by the way, it also talks about approving by publisher certificates in those controls, both with the UK government and with Australian and in the NIST controls, talks about using publisher certificates in conjunction with that, and that that is a valid approach if you are validating the certificates, which goes back to that new piece that we're going to be releasing.
Yep. Awesome.
Did that open up a whole can of worms with other questions?
No, actually. Yeah, someone wanted to know kind of security question in the US. And and then, yeah, will this work on standalone computers that are not always connected to the internet?
It will. Works on standalone computers, work groups, domain joined, local, Azure AD. Rules that you have in place, rules that you've defined, whether those be rules based on hash or certificate or file attributes or combination of all those. Each time the agent talks to our system, it's looking to see what rules apply to it. It encrypts them, stores them in a safe place in the registry, and then are applied even if they're offline. If the machine is offline and the user does something that you do not have, that you don't have a rule for, that that addresses that thing that they did, we simply, from a security posture, allow the UAC to come up. We give them the same thing they would have if they didn't have the system, which is the UAC.
And then, so we talked about the less work. I think everybody saw that, especially technician mode, ticketing, the security features, so rich, and the ROI. So you want to touch on, how we deliver some nice ROI to.
Well, yeah, I mean,
partners?
in multiple ways. I mean, first of all, it'll say, I mean, I think if you talk to our partners, they'll attest to the fact this will save you a ton, did I mention a ton of time? You have to reduce privilege. So you have the choice. I mean, you can either have those tickets all hit your service board and you can deal with them the old fashioned way, which is you have someone that needs something, they have to get frustrated enough to call you or open a ticket. Then when you get that a ticket assigned to the technician, then they're going to have to call that person to get okay to get into the machine to look at what they're doing. You have that little conversation about why they can't have admin privileges and, cry a little bit on their shoulder. You're probably going to re-download whatever it is they were attempting to do anyway, because you're not sure where they got it from or what it is for sure. And then you're going to download that next, put in your credential, open a ticket, put your notes in the ticket, do that whole process, close it out. Again, explain to them why this is a necessary evil and get on with it. That whole process is a 15 to 30-minute process that typically would take place if someone's time within your technical organization, is reduced down to either a fully automated process that never touches you, or in the worst case scenario, a privilege request that you can answer in 30 seconds. So the ROI is there just based off of that interaction alone.
Just that one
our
thing.
partners in scale, typically see at least 1.5 automated events per machine per month in scale, at a very minimum. Most of them see much more than that. So if you're talking about reducing something that then, because it's happening, is a 15 to 30-minute process, and you're turning that into no time off your staff, the ROI is easily there when you're talking about something that costs a couple cents per computer per day. So it's kind of a no-brainer. Now, there is another piece that you might have noticed, you may or may not have noticed. Let me share my screen real quick.
And we're coming down. I think Jeff's gonna.
I know, we're getting there.
He's gonna.
Real quick though, Jeff, this is a cool thing.
This is what we always do. Just
Jeff's
real quick,
like,
just one more thing.
We're an hour over, man. Oh, hold on. I gotta. So you may have noticed on the I probably don't have time to show you because I have to open the ticketing system, but there was a little button there in the technician mode that said ticket timer or technician timer.
Mhm.
And what that does, it allows your technicians when they're in technician mode to capture their time. So it'll allow them with a click of a button there, it'll access the ticketing system on the back end, allow them to open a ticket or a time entry on the existing ticket. It'll give a pick list. So if you're using AutoTask or ConnectWise or Synchro or whatever it is, from any machine, you can capture a bit of time and it will track it automatically based on the machine and the company and the technician. It'll put those entries in there automatically and capture that time. So the reality is if your technicians use that as part of their workflow, which does make it really easy because they still have the one-click elevations and all that. If you capture a little bit of time, if you capture a quarter of an hour a month per technician, I mean, you're paying for this entire solution.
Mhm.
I mean, there's a lot of different ways. That's not to mention the fact that if you're maybe charging a little bit extra in your stack for it, or we have clients that are simply just selling this to enterprise clients because the enterprise clients have the same issue. So there's lots of ways to make money. It'll save you
Mhm.
time. And
Really seeing
it's
nice ROI because we're channel only, we get a lot of enterprise, companies looking and reaching out to us regularly, which we pass on, and our MSPs appreciate that. And then in the dashboard, just answering a question quickly, there is a lot of data that you can download and export to a CSV file and share with your clients of what you're capturing, what you're saving. Yes, and
yeah, and Seam/syslog integration is coming. So that will be coming so that, but as it is now, everything you can export, but it'll be even more automatic here in the near future if you want to make it go to a syslog.
So what I want to know is what's the special offer they can get? I want to make sure that before anyone drops off that you teased us, Jamie, with what the special offer is here. I want to make sure that we get that.
All right. So.
Oh no, here he goes. I was like, he's going to have a great offer. I know it.
Well, we're going to do something. We're going to make it so easy. So here's the special offer. We're going to allow 100 MSPs to get signed up for $100. So for $100, normally we charge an integration charge for PSA integration because it does require work on our side to set it all up for you on the back end. We do, ConnectWise PSA or ConnectWise Manage, AutoTask PSA, Synchro, Kaseya, BMS, Repair Shopper. Oh, and Zendesk, we also have, if you're a Zendesk user, we have that. We just don't have it posted. We can get you set up with Zendesk. But normally we charge $300 or $299 to do a PSA integration. So what we're going to do for 100 MSPs is we're going to let you sign up for $100, meaning that you get the PSA integration. We're going to set that all up for you. And in addition to that, you'll get April, May, and June's licensing fees covered. So you can deploy as many agents as you want to deploy April, May, and June. Your first licensing fee would happen on July 1st. So you can start for $100. Makes it really easy. You can use, again, our RMM deployment for all the popular RMMs to deploy it out in silently in audit mode. It'll build all the companies, everything on our system automatically. You can audit your systems, remediate UAC, see who's running admin privileges, gather auditing information, build rules, and be in and eligible to get those other new features as well without additional costs when they're released. 100 for 100, $100 to start.
And that's only 100 MSPs. So here's the disclaimer. If somebody gets a hold of this, webinar and sees it down the road, don't come crying to me.
Yeah, so you'll need to email to get the deal. You'll need to email sales@autoelevate.com.
Yeah. And what kind of, oh, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
So if you email sales, we'll answer those in order of how they're received. after the webinar later today until the 100 is filled. So we'll make it
And what
easy to
kind of
get started.
contract do you, like, how many years is it required to get locked down with us for? That's a question.
You can quit anytime. There is no term commitment. It's month to month.
Zero term. Yeah, month to month deal. I know there's a bunch of people that had asked, what does the endpoint pricing look like, Todd?
So with the 100 for 100 deal, you would be billed for a minimum of 450 agents. Everything above 450 would be incrementally billed. So if you have agent 451, 452, it's just per agent. The per agent price is also a special price for this deal. It's 80 cents.
So 80 cents a month a agent out the door. And that doesn't
That's
start
US
until
dollars.
July.
Yep. And that's with the
Correct.
first licensing fee being charged July 1st. You can deploy as many agents as you want. So if you do the $100 deal and you got 5,000 agents, you can deploy 5,000 agents and use those for April, May, and June. July 1st, what would happen is you'd be billed for incrementally however many you have deployed. By the way, the way we count agents as well, we don't charge for agents that are stale, that aren't checking in within 30 days. So they're agents that are active and checking in and being used. So it's pretty MSP friendly. You can quit anytime. We do that because we know you won't, because it'll make your life way too easy. And it's for what it does and the different things that are coming, especially will have a lot of value. With that, there are also, if you, in that scenario, Jeff, you're going to deploy 5,000 or something, you also will get a discounted price based on the scale that you start with. As you deploy past thresholds of 750, 1,500, 3,000, 4,500, it gets cheaper, even above the price that we're quoting.
Excellent. So to repeat on that then, special deal on this, number of things that you've got in here. You've got $100 covers the first 3 months now through July 1st of all of that, including the PSA integration. You're going to get grandfathered into with all these new features that you've got coming up. You're not going to get price raised on that here. You went over the pricing. It's a month-to-month deal. And so, at minimum, this is something that for anyone that's out there, if they wanted to, it's a very, very super low risk here if you're intrigued at all by the solution here. And I'm guessing if you're at this point of it, you've got some intrigue here as we've spent an hour talking through it here, that for $100 at worst, you can go and test it out, put it on a few of your clients, get it, see how easy it is, see all of this and make sure and test it, that it works well in your workflow and with your PSA and everything else. And as Todd, as you were saying, that as part of that is that if they just get it, install it, try it out, they're going to love it. Their teams are going to love it of getting those installed out there. If they have any questions on it, is that the same sales@autoelevate.com? Is that the best place to go to?
Yeah, that'd be the best thing to do. If they have specific questions, certainly sales@autoelevate.com, we can address those. And maybe if they're just needing the information on how to sign up, have them send an email over there with in the subject line, say, I'm in for 100. That'll be the official code word, Jamie. I'm in for 100.
I like it. Let me write it down quick.
And then that way we can sort through the people that respond and get to them first as we fill that number. So.
All right, excellent. So limited to the first 100. This is going out to well over 100 people that are out there. And so definitely make sure that you get it. If you're interested at all, make sure that you get it in quickly here. Take Todd and Jamie up on their great offer that they've got here. That's for MSP success for this webinar, for Robin's clients only here as part of the community. And also looking forward to seeing both of you here. I know you're going to be virtually at boot camp coming up in 3 weeks here as well, but get this offer now. You can ask them all the technical questions after at boot camp and chat and all that kind of stuff, but lock this in here along with this webinar now don't wait till boot camp. You may not get
Yeah.
that same offer, I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, by the way, Jeff, I mean, this webinar, this moment in time, this is the first place we're giving everyone the first crack at it right here. Okay. So the people that showed up today live have got the first crack at it. I mean, now that it's out there, we'll be, promoting it as well, all the way, if there's some left, all the way through boot camp, if they're
Yeah.
left. But this is the first crack at it. So
Yeah, absolutely. Well, this has been awesome. I'm glad was able to sit through all of this. I mean, a lot of cool stuff, ton of great questions that were coming in here as well.
Yeah,
So I
great
know
questions.
you got everyone engaged with this and taking a look at it. And it seems like to me, I'm just again coming from having run an MSP before, is that anything that you can do to be able to make things smoother and efficient, not just for your team, but also for your customers, to make them happier and not getting grumpy that it takes forever to get something resolved, but keeping them secure.
well, that's the thing too, is that you can have the greatest security thing. You can have the greatest security mechanism in the world. You can have the bank safe door that's 10 feet thick and bars and retinal scanners and, all this stuff. But if it's so inconvenient to ever turn on, where they have to leave the door open 24/7, it isn't any good. So it's all that balance of security and convenience and user experience as well. Because again, it doesn't really do you any good if you're so secure that all your customers quit you.
Yeah.
So it's that balance, and this will really help you out.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, Todd,
Just reach
Jamie,
out to us with questions. We're available.
So sales@autoelevate.com. Todd, Jamie, looking forward to seeing you at boot camp here.
Yes.
And for everyone else, we'll see you on the next MSP Success webinar.
Sounds
Thanks,
good. Thank
everyone.
you so much.
Thanks, Jeff. Appreciate it.